Some conversations will be mind-blowing and you'll sit there and you'll have the most profound change.
Hiya. Okay, I'm going to put in headphones just in case that helps. Oh.
This is such fun, isn't it? This is tape 553.
Okay, hopefully that's good quality, hopefully. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Woo, woo, woo. Should we have another go? It's really funny. I'm gonna say this. So the Zoom link just came in to say your Zoom meeting is recorded and ready, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be such a laugh looking at that we'll use it as outtakes anyway.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, so not ready, so recorded, but so not ready.
So does this mean the tomato soup and grated cheese has gone, or is it still there?
It's just like the last bits, but
okay. So,
we're good now. We're good.
Welcome, Nikki, to the conversation. This is like we're going to go again, and it's going to work, and it's all going to be fine.
Yes.
So
channeling
the right energy. So to pre-frame the conversation, where we're going to start is with the grown-upness of agreeing to disagree and becoming good friends, mentors, and having the right vibes for the world that we live in, I guess, is probably where it's at.
Yes.
So,
sounds like a very good place to start.
It does. And I think for anyone that's listening, there's a big message right off the bat there that we can be grown up, agree to disagree, and see where we go.
Yeah. And as you said, we started this connection and this ease and this and it's not a kind of, I mean, our professional relationship and friendship, and it's funny how the two kind of coexist with kind of fluid but very clear, respectful boundaries. It started out of that disagreement. And yes, one of those Facebook posts that triggered both of us to kind of dive in and comment. Yeah, it was one of those, each of us coming from our areas of expertise. And we kind of jumped in and we were parrying swords with each other. And
it was a cool vibe straight away though, because even though we were not in agreement, it was almost like we were in agreement to not be in agreement. So there was
exactly. Yeah, and there was, and it was a case of, it was more a case of, as opposed to there, prove you wrong. It was a case of, and I'm pointing my finger here. It was a case of, consider this, but what about this? What about this approach? And in a nutshell, where we ended up was we actually do agree in the end thing, but our approach to solving that, addressing it, talking about it, coaching it, whatever we do, our routes are different. Absolutely. Which actually is the foundation of our professional kind of working relationship and collaboration.
Absolutely. And I think we should add that it did lead to a clandestine meeting at a beach bar, as you would in the West Indies.
As you do, of course.
And you were armed with mango.
Yeah, I was armed with a mango forget olive branch, folks. Forget an olive branch. Yeah. For some reason, from my tree, yes, I'm boasting. I was armed with a grafted mango, which is one of the sweetest mangoes. Not knowing, I'd not met you before, Janice. So not knowing, but I just thought, let me just bring this thing. And it was a mango and a crazy idea that I came with.
It was like the fruition was already there, right?
Oh, boom. fruition. You're good.
I know. I just had to do that. Is the language? The language. It was like, oh yeah, it's so ripe, that language. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Boom, boom. But it was a crazy conversation, wasn't it? Because we then found out that we had so many things that were kind of familiar with growing up, childhood, German connections, how we make our coffee connections, all of these woo-woo moments started happening.
Correct.
And everything just built into this, okay, this is really cool because I feel like I've met a kindred spirit through this very weird space in Facebook where we're not agreeing to anything really, but we're kind of agreeing to everything.
Yeah. And also that kind of willingness to be open to a different opinion and use it as a way to, let's say argue the toss, but it's also, in a way, when you do that, it kind of pressure tested that the thing that you do, it kind of pressure tested that it's actually solid, but also flexible as well. And then
sorry, go ahead. I think that was one of the things that we found out really easily and effortlessly, that we were both rooted in our, for want of better words, professional opinions and ideas of where we come from. But exactly, we walk the same journeys in many ways. We just arrive at the destination through a different
correctly
literally, it's like you'll take that road, I'd take this road, and then the amount of times that since then we have these conversations and we're thinking the same thing, it's just we've got there in a different way, and we're going oh my god, here we go again.
Exactly. And even both of us, after our commitment to ourselves, we've a whole route to get to improve ourselves, to be the best possible version, amazingness, uniqueness of ourselves. Then our other commitment is helping other people and helping them navigate challenges, BS, work situation or personal. Yours is more in a personal space, but the overlap again, because that nonsense of back in the day that your work and your personal life are two separate things is just like, give me a break. And we've ended up, and guys, this is where sometimes you need to be humble enough. And too often experts in our field, they go and play, all for rule breaking and boundaries breaking, but sometimes your area of expertise is a particular space where you do your best work. And then a problem or a challenge is then, like, for example, a GP, you can identify the problem and everything else like that. But then if it's a heart problem, then you need a heart specialist or you need a cardiologist. And this is a similar situation I've had. My headspace, my space is HR, it's people development, and working with someone on the job, and they are, I'm addressing their work situation, their contribution, their productivity, their ability to perform. And I realized that's to this point, but there's something else going on that needs a mind mechanic.
A mind mechanic. Yeah.
And
I just kind of want to backtrack a little bit there for people, because I think it's really important for us to know, as we do ourselves, we know our area of expertise, and equally we know when we need to say, hold on, I need that somebody else, I need a bit more input, and this person is the right person. Because one of the things I wanted to say in getting to know you and the way that you work is, although you might be potentially there for a business need, for what a corporation stands for and expects from you, in my opinion, you're there to help humans be the best humans that they can be. And it just so happens that it might be in the context of the job that they get paid to do.
Yeah. And in some instances, the job that they're paid to do, and in other instances, I help them navigate either to crack that code and be able to do the job they're paid to do and progress in that space. And other times it's helping them to arrive at the point and realizing you're not where you need to be right now. You're not in the best workspace job that suits you, and it's time for you to step and make other moves. So one of the other parts is just helping people, you know, to hold up that mirror. But you're holding the mirror because it is scary when you look in the mirror. You may hold the mirror for them for a while, but it's helping them to just like see the reality and help them to move into a new direction.
I've got to ask, the humanness in me wants to ask the question: how difficult or easy is it for you to navigate that path that you sometimes have to help somebody to come to the decision that they're not in the space that they need to be? How does your humanness sometimes get in the way of doing that? Or, you know, is there a switch that you flick? You know, so it's like me, if I'm working with a client, the biggest thing when we work with a client in the way that I often do is to literally put my protection up, as I call it. So I've got my barriers up so I can get all the information, I can see all their feels. But really what I don't want to do is feel all their feels, because if I feel all their feels, I can't do what I need to do. So how have you navigated the art, because clearly you have, of being able to separate your humanness from that role that you need to identify to get that person to do what is absolutely the right thing for them? It's a big question, a bit meaty.
Yeah, it's a me too. I've never really thought about it.
Because it's what you do.
I never really thought about it. However, this isn't something that, I've always done this. No, this is something that over time, trial, error, you know, mistakes, learning myself, and then also just understanding, not being defined by what is a traditional HR practitioner role, and started to carve out my own space of what is HR. In fact, I can't even stand titles. I hate titles. It's just, you know.
Well, it's a bit like calling myself a life coach, you know. I call myself a life coach because people seem to think it's those things.
Yeah.
Really, I kind of go, oh God, do I have to be called a life coach? Actually.
But guess what? You have to be a sidetrack that you have to do that sometimes, because as human beings, they have to understand a thing. So you have to, I call it like Trojan horse. You have to give them the thing that they recognize, but then you do the disruptive guerrilla tactics and change it up and, you know, change their mind. But it's back to that question.
Apply the label and then peel it back.
Exactly. Then peel it back or just redefine it completely. Yeah. But so, now you ask me that, and I'm okay. Here's the thing. So, absolute full disclaimer, I'm not a licensed therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, none of that stuff. That's not the root. The root is human resources and people development. But within that, my interest has always been psychology, behavioral science, and I've always dove into that topic. Hence, perhaps one of the connections you and I have. Yeah. And I've been fascinated for many years telling stories, particularly from a business perspective. It's marketing, but it's telling stories. And I think often what happens when you're a leader and you're a manager, and even more HR, sometimes we put ourselves too much in people's stories. Whereas, as you asked me about that bubble, so what I do is I realize my job is to be in the back. My job is a facilitator. My job is to pull it out. It's not about me. And the marketing stealing, and I blatantly steal from marketing, is, you know, often, you know, I'm not the hero of the story. The person I'm dealing with, the employee or client, is the hero of the story. And my job is to make them the hero or the anti-hero of their story. Yeah. So over time, I've realized that I don't need the glory and the prestige and whatever else. If you want it, it kind of comes by helping someone to be even more amazing. Yeah. I don't need the accolades. So it's putting them at the center and helping them. And that is my first, as you call it, bubble protection, and realizing my duty of care and service is them, not I have all the answers and I'm your guru and I'm your HR specialist. No.
So it's interesting because we're using the word bubble. So I guess there have been times where you literally burst someone's bubble, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you have to say, right, this isn't for you, love. Sorry,
Yeah.
or this
Yeah.
isn't for you, dude. You're in the wrong space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So does that get easier the more that you do it? I'm guessing it does, right?
Yes and no. It gets easier because even more you're so committed to doing the right thing generally, and the right thing for somebody else, so that makes it easier. Does it make it easier when you're in front of someone, you're pricking the bubble, bursting the bubble of what their vision of themselves or how they saw themselves as fabulous, and maybe they're not, or they're just in the wrong space, and you see that crumble? Basically, I guess it's the image or the perception they have has to crumble first. And if you're not careful and gentle but firm and not respectful when you do that, and when maybe you're just beyond your skill set, and you really crumble someone, if you haven't got the plan or the start to rebuild them, you're doing not only a disservice, you're actually causing damage to someone. And I think it's that. So I sometimes get it wrong, but I think the first, before any of that, the action is about the intent. And if you've taken the time to build up trust, not that that they agree with you all the time, back to our original starting point, but you built up trust and they understand the position that you're coming from, and that your intent is exactly what it is, and it is pure and it is honest and it is good. I'm not saying it's foolproof or it's fail safe or it's always going to work. That is the first point. So too often we want the shortcut, we jump into the fix, and we don't do enough of the pre-work and building the relationship, and building the trust.
The foundations that get built on, that come from trust, loyalty, integrity, transparency, clarity, all of those big words.
Accountability.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting though, because we're talking about it in the context of work, yet all those things are vitally important for our own personal lives, right? And it's something that
not judgment.
And I quite often have to remind people that sometimes the things that we can learn in business, if we apply those same models to our personal lives, we'd be walking out on some of the shit in our personal lives, right? But for some reason we differentiate them. So I think it's really interesting to see the crossovers of how these things come about. So one of the things that we kind of going back to go forwards, when we had the clandestine meeting with the Mango, there was these crazy ideas, and it involved a drawing of a VW camper van at some point as well, didn't it? Which was just one of the woo-woo, what's going on moments.
It was it's going to sound like a Martin Luther King moment. I had a dream, but literally a crazy idea before meeting you, and it's always, I love doing stuff on my own, hence why I own business, but also I love collaborating, and I love collaborating with a certain, it's not like-minded, it's like-valued. And I think from our exchange, I've picked up, and it was, reciprocate, that we're like-valued, and that even, to me, is even more powerful. So there was a crazy, I was like, gosh, I wonder if we did a thing, I don't know, not a workshop, or some kind of, the two of our different approaches to solve or to help people just change, transform. And then out of that came the idea, well, both of us are kind of rebellious in our own way.
A little bit naughty thinking.
It's like, so that out of that came Burn the Box.
It was just a bit surreal, wasn't it? Because you did your doodle of some woman in a VW camper van, and I'm like, hey, I have a VW camper van. I have the only one in Antigua. Would you believe that kind of thing?
And I was like, no. And then out you popped a picture of Vinny the van. And I was like, okay, done. No matter what we end up doing together or not, we're connected. Or we're just connected. We're just connected.
I think it's one of those things where all the synchronicities and all the what might be woo-woo moments, or what the fuck, how can this be? Everything came together, didn't it? And then we sat and we kind of brainstormed this burning the box, i.e. boxes don't have to exist. How can we help people to step into these changes? And I guess for me, the same as you, running my own business, lots of people want to collaborate with you, and you're the same as me in this. I know you have to be really careful if you step into collaboration with someone, because we're putting our identity and we're putting all our pre-history of the way that we work and who we present as on the line, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
Intrinsically, clearly we felt like, this is a really good fit.
Yeah, it was a good fit. And also we felt that it would bring a different feel. I mean, it's age-old problems. It's nothing new. You know, how do I move from X place to the next? How do I transition? How do I change? How do I transform? How do I do this in an amazing way, or a way that, you know, it may hurt, but I can come out the other end? And what I thought was just, you know, is from both of our, again, experiences and approaches, you know, and out of that came, you know, that combination of, so often when, whether it's consultants or guides or coaches or whatever address this kind of issue, they address one part, their own area of expertise. And I think from our many conversations, just, you know, for me, for organizational change, is you focus on the action, the things that need to be done. This is typically the HR space, all policies and procedures. This is the timeline needs to happen. And then you forget that head and heart. And then this is where you stepped in and we're like, it needs both.
Absolutely.
You know, it needs both.
Yeah. And so we did two of those, didn't we? And I think we had a real mix of people that came to it. And I think at the beginning, because some people knew you, some people knew me, and some people were like, fuck, these two can't work together. That can't be right. And then the magic of us being together, each coming from our own spaces, created magic that worked really, really well. And with a to be continued.
To be continued. And I tell you what was the most, and out of it, and, you know, guys, what we kind of did, different, like the workshop style, interactive, pre-COVID, so we're actually able to do it in person. I know, and that bit was good. And it was good and rich. But what was really just the layers of
the
support, the juiciness, and really seeing people was you and I, similar to this, on a call, and doing the check-in with them, and basically doing like absolute laser focused coaching, prodding from our different spaces, and the person was like, it was like 2 for the price of 1. Oh my God.
Absolutely. They got a really good deal, didn't they?
They got a really good deal monetary, but also they got a good deal because what was happening was in one hit, and which is often missed. And I've made mistakes in doing change management thinking, is not focusing on the two. The head and the action must be tackled at the same time, bringing people along.
I mean, I think one of the things that often, so obviously I've got corporate back there somewhere, and having done change stuff in the guise of delivering it, you know, through NLP language workshops and stuff, is a lot of the time if you go into a company or in a business, change is done to people versus with people. And by bringing in the heart, by bringing in actually really understanding where they feel, we can connect them to the process versus disconnect them from everything. And I think that's what we proved in that. So we had this a real mix of people with different professions and different vibes going on. Yet they all recognise that the head and the logical part really needs to be connected to the rest of it for it to work, because that's where all the deals come from.
And and I can't remember who said it. Somebody, you know, it's like, if you know, there's a mistake that you think of us as human beings as like these logical beings wandering around. No, we're not. We're a human sack of feelings, and that's what, and we never address. And often, you know, either us as individuals for our own space, ourselves or our families or whatever else, you address that, as opposed to, you better start with the feelings first. And so often you want to do, you know, you yourself, us ourselves, or our business wants to do the shortcut and get straight to the thing, when it is actually, there's so much pre-work that needs to happen in getting people's minds ready. And you said something really,
Absolutely.
I think it's a gem that I want to pull out again. You said that just then is like that they connect with the process. I think that's step one, but what we did, whether it's it was kind of by accident, because we kind of connected by accident or design, but I'd see more of that, is not only connect with the process, but both of our styles is that both of us, we can talk, we don't want anyone dependent on us. We don't want our client to be, you know, can't stand on their, we kind of drip feed them enough so they stay stuck to us and they can't stand up on their own and go off, like grow up and go off on their own. And what I love about connecting with the process, and we kind of started to ease back and say, actually, not just connecting with the process, you own the process. We're just now guiding you to drive that process, or whatever it is. And then like, yes, go chickens, fly, fly from the nest.
Absolutely. Your journey.
Oh, I think we're having a paradise tax moment.
Accountability in there. So we were, you know, building. So it's kind of, you know, we enabled them, and we were there going stroke, and then we're pushing them out of the door. And then I'm either stroking you and holding you in magical space, or I've got the Doc Martens on and I'm fucking kicking your ass.
Exactly.
And it's the measures. And I know actually you wouldn't put it in those words, but that's exactly what you do as well in your own stuff. It's like, because it's nurture nature, and then it's actually, no, this is the deal, and this is how it needs to be. So
you want to grow, basically, we want to grow. Yeah, we want to grow adults. I think so often, and then for MySpace companies, they just kind of, you know, infantilize. Just keep, you know, employees and what, just in child state. No, you want adults, because you have them in child state, and then when you then asking to be accountable, to lead, to manage, and whatever else. Well, hang on, you build a structure around them, or a culture that doesn't allow that to even take root and flow. So absolutely. You know, so it's you know,
it's funny because you use that term of reference. So I would often say that there's a whole bunch of men out there who are dressed up as men and they're boys inside, and there's a whole bunch of women that are like rocking their thing and they're little girls inside. And what I certainly do is help them say, hey, it's time to stop being a child and recognize where they are in that journey, and then own up and grow up into that sense of, do you know what, this is who I'm meant to be, and be okay with sometimes going back to the childlike, but not literally masquerading with no emotional intelligence, emotionally disabled, because they've got a title, they've got a job, they've got a wife, they've got a husband, they've got a car, they've got a house. They feel like, well, I've achieved, I've shown up, I'm grown up, right? I've shown up and I've grown up. And actually, they're emotionally stunted.
Yeah. And from kind of my side in kind of doing that, you know, in terms of, yes, you know, someone either wanting to do a particular job amazingly, or wanting to go through the food chain and go up, or whatever. But the most important thing for individuals, and this is where I mean, I reference it, you know, Kim Scott radical candor, but it is absolute, you know, and yours is
I was going to bring that up, the whole radical candor.
Oh yeah, but it is honestly about, and it's being straight with someone. It's telling them, you know, so many people want the trappings of the prestige, the privilege, the position, right? They have the title, but they don't want to do the work to actually earn it and feel value that they deserve it. So they're living in, I mean, we've seen enough, you know, living in a state of, they're the worst kind of, you know, individuals on the job. They are living in a state of fear, a state of being exposed, because they've done the shortcut, quick hack, get to it, express speed, and not the inner work to be able to forget the title, just whatever the particular company or organization or yourself want to add on it. But in terms of you are, you know, more than able, willing and able to handle this. So often when I end up on a coaching side, from particularly with like, you know, senior managers or senior HR pros, is to say, listen, this is particularly in that space where others are looking to you, this is what it takes, this whatever, and you have a choice. You're either going to do it that way, surfacey, and have it, and you'll have that constant anxiety and whatever else, and that's okay because it's a choice, or you're going to probably upset some people, may have to make some changes, whatever else, but that way you'll actually sleep in your bed at night ultimately, because you absolutely own that role and nobody can say otherwise. And what kind of work, which one do you want to do? You have a choice.
And I think for a lot of people it's the fear of diving into the depths of everything that lies beneath the very thing that they think they've achieved. And let's face it, I know that you know some, and I can look back in my history of different organizations before I set up my own thing, where I was like, well, you know, this person's come in and they've come with this mission that they've been handed, and you can see that it's completely incongruent to who they are, and that they don't really want to do it, but they're going to do it because they want the paycheck or they need the paycheck. And then they also come to the point where they can't actually stop and reflect and go back and do the work, because their whole life would be shattered, and they're just not up for that. And I think in different ways, we both work with people who have had a dose of the awareness, something you know, they got a tiny shop somewhere, and you know, the message kept coming back, and then they've been aware enough to say, hey, there's something that I need to look at. And that's where you can go from the surface structure to the deep structure, and everything that lies beneath is where all the goodness is, right? It's just that I suppose as a society we've been programmed to think if you've got all the shiny stuff on the outside, that's good enough. And actually that's not where it's at, right? Because exactly like you say, that's the stuff that is easily going to be tripped up in culture change, COVID change, all of those things are going to uncover all of that stuff, isn't it?
I mean, right now, the COVID effect, and then for us in the Caribbean, you know, where, you know, jobs, livelihoods, homes are just like that from a hurricane could just go like that. And I mean, I personally, for my own self, family, and my own business, you know, Hurricane Irma literally upended. Now, Antigua was safe. We did not get it. Our sister island got it, didn't get it. But for me personally, my clients in other islands got it. And I was like, that was it. It was done.
It's done.
It's done. And it's like, oh my goodness, now time to, you know, after you do the whole grieving, mourning in the bed in the fetal position, what the hell we're going to do? And then you kind of dust off. I've
got to use this word for you, Dave, because this is, well, a couple of words: determination and resilience. You know, maybe that bounce back with emotional intelligence.
And you have to allow yourself to say, this is shit. This is crap. Because somebody says, oh no, I'm just going to power through it. Nonsense. You need to allow yourself, whether you have the ugly cry, whatever. And then from that, but set yourself a time. It's like, okay, now comes the, all right, what do I do? The resilience, the creativity. Who do I know? You know, and even if they can't help you, it's the very fact of, and you spoke about it for your own, whatever grief it is, action, movement, putting one foot in front of the other is just the start of of getting back or getting forward, you know.
And it's also what you just said there, giving that time frame. I mean, I do it myself. Some days I'm like, okay, so March, you know, this is my conversation kind of thing. So March for me, 1st of March has come and my brain has gone, oh man, it's March. I really want to march through March because I have my mum's birthday. We have Mother's Day, and then we have the 1st anniversary of my dad dying. So my brain could just go like that, or it could go like that. So I've chosen how it's going to be. So there's going to be movement, there's going to be energy, and it's all of those things. And that doesn't undershadow that I need to pay attention to those other things. It's the intention and the awareness that comes from those that take you to movement. And it's the same for all of us, whatever is going on. It's like we can sit and we can dwell and we can be taken down, or we can say, from this I rise. And how do I choose to rise? And
exactly.
I mean, you and Chris, you rose, right? Because there was no other choice, I guess.
For us, there was no choice. But you know, and then I always remember, you still the choices could be crappy, but you always have a choice. And the choice would have been just like, and the choice for us was hit the road. You know, and the choice could have been stay at home and we're together. And you know, but at the end of the day, you know, there's, you know, a 13-year-old, there's the house, there's whatever, and ourselves to get back on our feet as well. So you still, and also it has to be what's right for you and your decision. Somebody else's response to that couldn't be the same. They're different individuals, their context is different. So when often people say, oh, I couldn't do what you do, whatever, and I'm like, great, and you shouldn't. You need to do what's right for you. You know,
I think if you're happy to, I want to kind of go a little bit deeper on that, because it's almost like Hurricane Irma was your pre-COVID test, right?
Dress rehearsal.
And you know, so I could identify with a lot of what you went through in that time span of you being on one island, Chris being on another island, and your 13-year-old being at home with your auntie, right?
Right,
that's
correct.
From an army background, which is one of the things that we
share in common, right?
Absolutely.
And that's probably a root of some of the resilience, that being able to pack up your things in, you know, and boarding, and for me, boarding school as well. So the ability to be able to pack up MFO boxes.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah. And I think it is, you know, it's an unconscious resilience, because, you know, there were times in my life where it was like, okay, for 4 months, we're going to this place. And then a week before you're going to this place, it's actually go get those boxes back because we're going to this place.
That's it.
Your brain deals with that. Yeah. If I think for people listening, the fact that you were able to make the right decisions for your family, albeit clearly some emotional cost.
And risk. And risk, huge risk. Sometimes some people's relationships or yourself doesn't survive something like that. But I think always and hindsight kind of makes wise people of us when you can, oh yes, I planned that. No, you didn't. You just responded. But now when I look back, and each time has been when I, or as a family unit, you know, Chris, we have made what seems like a risk or whatever, because there was a purpose behind it. And the purpose was always bigger than the job, the money, because yes, to pay, but it was, so for example, it would be, okay, we're on the road, and yes, it's to get a job, to pay the bills, whatever, but it's like, okay, now the new thing, the house needs some, you know, new railings and renovation and whatever else. So it's always something, it always has to have something else that drives you, because if it's purely for the money, and that can last for a while, but at some point it's like, it's like rubbish calories, it's rubbish nutrients after a while.
Not real,
it's not real. It has to be something more than that. So I think it's the most important thing, and I think now you're making me think about the kind of, you know, stepdad, army life and boarding school, is where what do you class as home? And for me, and I think because of that moving, home was not necessarily, yes, now I have a home, calling it for my home here, but home was always a thing I carried with.
Absolutely.
And that is whether it's memories, people, a kit bag of traditions and customs that I've collected from whatever.
It's not.
And I never used to, have, you know, when I first went like to university, there was like met people, connected with, made new friends with, they went to their friends, the same school friend in the same street, grew up, and I'm like, what is that? I have just no idea what that is, of growing up in the same, what is that? So, and I think it's that, you know, and even, yes, I left with like 2 suitcases, and there was certain things, you know, these beads that have a story went with, you know, a photo,
Yeah.
my chunky, there's a few things that meant home, so home in or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was always that, I guess, the kind of transient, the gypsy feel that I know at some point this is only for a time.
Yeah.
And I think when
And
we
as
release,
long as you had those kinesthetic things
correct,
connect you, that's your connection.
Yeah, and that's it, your talismans that you take with you.
Absolutely.
And but also I think from traveling, and you made a joke, from traveling and living in a lot of different places, and Chris is similar, my husband Chris is similar, and people that we connect with on like valued. If you've not lived in you kind of collect like a magpie, you collect things from the different places. So when you spotted, there's the German cafe canner, kind of whatever. So from time of living in Germany, so I make coffee that way. And then the thing that it sits on is a Turkish tea, coffee warmer. So as we've traveled in places, you've taken a best or a piece of, and that forms the new fabric of you and the new fabric of your family. So
it's kind of interesting because whilst you were talking through that, at one point I sort of thought, I remember consciously making a decision by the time Nicola was 7, 8. I was like, man, she's had 4 schools. My ex-husband was considering staying in and doing more years and going for officer and that kind of stuff. And I remember saying, oh, but I don't want to do that. I'm not going to come with you if we do that, because I'm actually now at the point where I think this child would benefit from going to one school and taking her friends with her. And then it was really interesting because ultimately I can remember after a separation and having my own home and being with Nicola was like, well, when are we moving? Because she was programmed to move, right?
Yes.
So because and as I look back on that, I think that's a bit insane, really. Yet clearly that wanderlust is still within me, because here I am in the West Indies right now, like with my wanderlust going on.
Yes.
So I left the UK at sort of 17, and I didn't live back in the UK until I was 35, 36. What was going on? Is still going on is the answer.
It's still going on, and I think
it's kind
similarly,
of in us, right?
Yeah, and I guess it's that kind of gypsy. But even if there's a physical moving, but it's also the same approach actually to the practice of what I do, and similarly, I guess the practice of what you do. It's always looking over a fence into another thing, another discipline, another idea. It's never, for me, that would be so boring. That to me would just lead a very dull life, that if the richness is missed,
it's the not being static, and my brain is saying behavioral flexibility, but it's almost like full body flexibility in terms of, well, I could be there, I could be here. We could be disconnected from not living in the same geography space as our child, as our husband, as a partner. But it's okay, because I know what I need to do and how to feel in that space, I guess.
Yeah. And you have a common, if it's not for yourself, but then if it's for a family unit or whatever, partnership, could be business, you have to have that common purpose. Yeah. So when there's space, distance, sacrifice, tough stuff, it's like, because it's being done for this thing that we both signed up for.
It's making me say, for some reason, it's having family skin in the business, right? So if it was the business thing, it would be you got to have skin in the business, but it's almost like if you've got to have the collective family skin in the business to be able to make those decisions and work in that way, and come out the other side. I guess with some ideas of how you don't want to do things anymore and how you do want to do things.
And it's always a case of doing that. It's like, good, I've done that now. It's like, I won't be doing that again, or I'll do it again, but I'll do it differently. But one thing though, that kind of wanderlust or whatever else, it's if anything that I've seen, and now I look back 50 years or conscious, so maybe 45 years, there's a saying that I've always kind of latched onto, and it means so much. Standing still is the riskiest thing you can do.
Yeah.
And that's when you end up as roadkill. And if anything, it's just been amplified by COVID. For those, if you haven't standing still, so whether it's your mind, whether it's your job, whatever it is, if you have not built in that flexibility, adaptability, that resilience, that elasticity, whether it's, you will be laid low. And if you have anchored your identity and anchored into, people and development director, blah blah blah, and it's everything is that. And I've seen on the work front that when severance redundancies come, and individuals and whatever, and they're so dialed in, their whole identity is wrapped into that title. They're the ones that literally will need your services.
Yeah.
Because they have absolutely crumbled and cannot, even after a little period of mourning, cannot pivot, cannot get back up, cannot function. And it's that to me is always, that's my cautionary tales. Every time I get comfortable, I'm like, time to just get uncomfortable.
Just do something else now.
Quick.
That shows though the depth of emotional intelligence for self, right? And I think, a lot of the people that I work with are looking to explore that because they've had the call or whatever it is that's led them to that space. And I think it's really important. It's made me think about, sometimes we've been over this troubled year of not being here, not being here when we've had our catch up. And it's always been amazing, going for a hike as an example.
Yes.
And we start a conversation and, you're just talking about the things that we're talking and we're sharing, we're connecting on the level that we do because we trust each other. And then we meet someone like More Love as the first example.
Yeah.
And, the gifts that we get from being open to those conversations in the first place, right?
Yeah. And it's seeing people as human beings, beyond black, white, religion, lifestyle choice, and just being open to, I could learn something or not, or I could just experience something different. It might not be for me, it might not be my choice, but it's like, that level of kind of keeping your curiosity and openness, and a level of humility and respect. Again, you and I have danced around this topic.
Absolutely.
Again, it's about staying out of judgment. It will be a struggle I'll take with me, because we love all of us. We love a judgment. But to be honest, it's saying, that's cool, not for me, but staying out of, oh my God, what do you think? Yeah, it's hard, but it just...
This big thing about stepping outside of our perceived fixed restrictions. So when you were saying that, I was thinking about you coming to the sound bath with the whole family, right? And you're just like,
oh God, you scarred my family. No, hold on. I'm shifting blame, right? And I'm casting shade. You made me scar my family. But they did it. They did it.
And there was, we're going to share it here, but there was a profound thing that you felt through that experience, right?
Yeah.
And I always think a part of what we do is to maybe take people to places that they don't want to go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what was the learning? What was in there for
you? And even
So,
if the learning is, I did it, but I won't do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the interesting thing, I mean, Lily and Chris, hilarious, right? They were like, Lily was fidgeting, he was fidgeting. But out of that, we have one of our family stories. Do you remember the time when we went for the sound bath? And it's one of those that in tough times, we draw up those stories and you kind of laugh, especially when there's distance. And it's a thing that reconnects us. It brings humor. And, and out of that, so that's one good thing. And for Lily, a learning, she'll go somewhere, study something, whatever else, and somebody will say, whatever. She says, oh yeah, hold on, sound bath, hang on, it will come to her, and it will give her an opportunity to connect in a situation that is unexpected. So yes, I will.
It's kind of being open to those things. So when we met More Love the first time, I just remember that we started walking down the road with him, and he was calling all the plants she, wasn't he? And we
Yes.
were both just full of it. Oh, and because I already know him, but it was just like, oh my God, we got to the bottom of the road and we felt like we'd been gifted love, right?
Seriously. And both of us, we just kept stealing glances, going, oh my God, this is so good.
And, if we weren't the people that we were, we would miss such rich opportunities. And I guess by way, for me, as I guess we should be coming to the end of this conversation, because for sure we'll have another one, it would be that if we're open to conversations and we're truly opening our eyes to being in different spaces with different people, the richness that can be there is just phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's it. And it's a richness, but again, it's define richness in just such a multi-layered way, that can't be taken away. And I think right now, in the times that we're in, where everything seems so uncertain, unfixed, and fluid, where you want fixedness and surety, it's not in the things. Don't get me wrong, I love my luxury, but it is going to be in the things that are you can't take away. These are the things you can't take away. These experiences you can't take away.
It's grounding and rooting yourself in the things that really important, right? And recognizing the importance of those. And these are the things that are portable as you age, portable that if you have to move in another location, stories that will connect you. These are the things. But hey, I mean, what do we know? Absolutely. What do we know? We know it. I keep saying to people, well, I know a lot, but equally I know nothing, because I know nothing. And the whole point of 52 conversations came about from, as far as I'm concerned, all I ever do is end up telling stories with clients and people. Obviously, there might be a bit of magic in there somewhere. Yeah. Really, it's just we're telling stories.
We're telling stories, and guess what? I won't, I've got a stack of books, articles, so much that I just, if I could just luxuriate into diving into all of that and just like downloading the knowledge. Absolutely. However, but by sharing stories like this, it's almost like a beautiful shorthand and gaining some of that. That you still keep kind of learning and growing, and connecting.
And real depth and real connectivity.
Correct.
And the human condition is seeking connection, and COVID brought that even more so. Yeah. With the craving for connection, we've really got to be cognizant of what we're connecting to. So
correct.
This
and connecting. Really good.
This connection is really good.
This connection is just such a unexpected gift. An unexpected gift that makes it even more kind of special as well.
Absolutely.
So more to come.
Thank you for joining us. Underneath all of this, we're going to give them all the links of where they can find you if they want to check you out and have a conversation with you. But you'll definitely be coming back for another conversation.
And you and I definitely have to dust off some of those ideas of how we can do some more crazy collaborations and help more people and disturb people and set them on the right path.
Absolutely. 100%. We've got this. Big love.
Big love. Big hugs. Bye.
Bye.